Deputy Director Penley, you've essentially been the acting director of the BLM since July last year. What's your vision for this agency?
Well, Laura, I hate to correct you at the get-go, but my proper title is Deputy Director, Policy and Programs, exercising the authority of the director. I know that's sort of a long thing, but it's a legal thing to say, hey, that's the basis upon which I get to sign documents. And, obviously the media likes to shorten it to acting director, but technically I'm Deputy Director, Policy and Programs, exercising the authority of the director. And it's been a real thrill to be here. I'm delighted to work for the Trump administration and Secretary Bernhardt. And I've just been so impressed with the Bureau of Land Management and their employees. I travel all around the country. I did a lot before the virus hit, and then after the virus hit, I tried to step it up, and that's what I'm doing today in New Mexico. I think the number one issue for me when I first got there, obviously, was to move the headquarters to the West. We had 550 employees, positions in Washington, D.C., 99, Laura, you're the expert as well as I am, 99.99% of the Bureau of Land Management lands are in the West and Alaska. Most of our employees are here, 97%. But we still had our leaders in Washington, D.C., and the desire was to put the leaders out to work hand in glove with the people in the field, to learn from them, and have the people in the field learn from our leaders who had the Washington, D.C. experience. And at the same time, put our people on the ground so that they could make better decisions earlier in the process. Obviously, I've got to say, wild horse and burros. We have 95,000 wild horses and burros on the public lands. It's not compassionate. It's not humane for those icons of the American West. And it's terrible for the land. It's destroying the land. It's bad for indigenous species, endangered species. It's not good for our neighbors. So I don't want to handle that. And obviously, number three, I'd have to say is fire. We're going through a remarkable fire season. It's not record setting. A lot of people are surprised by that, but we got 30-some thousand people in the field fighting fire right now. But that's a huge issue for us. We have a professional firefighting organization, and I'm proud to lead it. And I'm just so impressed with the men and women who are on the fire lines today.
So you have worked in government before, but you were also president of the Mountain States Legal Foundation for about 30 years, I think. Why did you want to work at BLM, come back to the federal government, especially after challenging federal agencies and policies for so long?
Yeah, Laura, that's interesting. I basically spent my whole life in government. I was obviously a student, and I was a Marine. I was a Marine for almost 5 years. Then I went to Washington. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked for the U.S. Senate. I worked for the House of Representatives. I worked for what was at the time the House Interior and Insular Affairs Committee, now called the House Resources Committee. So I know that side. And then the Reagan administration came in. Secretary Watt asked me to join him, and I did for a number of years. I practiced law for about 4 years in the Washington area, and then for 30 years, 3 decades, I led the Mountain States Legal Foundation in Denver. It is a nonprofit public interest law firm. It's like the ACLU or, Earth Justice or any other public interest law firm. I represented all sorts of people. I represented ranchers, miners, loggers, people engaged in oil and gas activity, climbers, hikers, concessionaires, counties, little cities. I represented them all. And Laura, just a minor correction. Sometimes I sued the federal government on behalf of my client, and sometimes I joined on the side of the federal government saying, you know what? My client believes the federal government got this right, and therefore the government's position should be upheld. So yeah, sometimes I challenged government, sometimes I did. And I got a call from Secretary Bernhardt. I was pumping gas at the King Soopers, and my phone rang. It was David Bernhardt, and he said, I'd like you to come back and head up the Bureau of Land Management. That was a unique opportunity for me, and so I jumped at it, obviously. I love what the president's doing. I think the president's got it right. He wants to grow the economy. He wants to provide jobs for Westerners. At the same time, he knows we need to increase recreational opportunities. Laura, if there's one thing we learned during the virus, and we've learned lots of things, I hope we've learned lots of things, but I know at the Bureau of Land Management, one of the things we've learned is that the American people want to come out on BLM land and recreate. Visitations at our BLM sites all across the West, all across the country have just skyrocketed. And so we know that when the pandemic is over next summer, I think they're going to come back and we'll be prepared to receive them.
Right. So you were here out in New Mexico, you're in Santa Fe right now, and you went out to Chaco Canyon. What was that visit like? And who were you meeting with up there? Were you able to meet with some of the tribal officials and tribal communities as well?
I did not. I was just with federal officials my whole time. We drove on down to the Chaco Canyon, went into the park. I was just mightily impressed with it. It's just awe-inspiring. The technology that was put in place by folks of antiquity, and the creativity. And I'm just awestruck that the timbers that were used were collected from 40 and 60 miles away, that the stones that were used were from up on top of the mesa and had to be, carved out of stone there and then hiked down and put in place. You can't help but be impressed with it. And it's a really wonderful place. And I understand it's quite sacred and significant to the people of the American Indian community. And I respect that. And I think that's locked in stone for us, that there are reasons why we have these parks established and we have to protect those things.
So there has been a lot of controversy over the years with respect to the BLM's leasing for oil and gas development around the Chaco Canyon area, and tribal communities and tribal governments have really pushed back against that. I'm wondering how the agency can incorporate those concerns into moving forward with leasing, especially as we see in the San Juan Basin, the demand for natural gas and oil and development issues are really kind of on the decline right now.
We didn't start this, as you know, we didn't start this process yesterday or even last year. This is a process that began back in 2014 with scoping meetings. We had scoping meetings. We had about 1,800 people involved. We extended the comment period for that. Then we had more scoping meetings in 2016. We had about 18,000 comments. We extended the comment period for that. And then working together, this is a unique resource management plan. We're working hand in glove with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This is BIA does not have a resource management plan. We put one together with the BIA. We're working hand in glove. Assistant Secretary Tara Sweeney has been magnificent in her support of our efforts to get it right. We finalized, put out a draft on the 28th of February, and then we opened up comment periods. We had a comment period going, and then, of course, the virus hit, and it was particularly devastating to Navajo Nation. We understand that. And so the Secretary met with tribal leaders, heard their concerns, and said, okay, let's extend the comment period. We did not have public meetings because of the virus. So we had Zoom meetings. We met just like you and I are meeting with as many people as we could. We had 5 meetings via Zoom technology. And then after the comment period was extended, we had more Zoom meetings, because one of the things we concluded in that first meeting was there were a lot of misconceptions, and we didn't have our subject matter experts online to talk to the people and explain stuff and say, hey, this is really what we're doing. It's not that, it's not what you've been hearing, it's something else. And so we had our subject matter experts on, and then the president of the Navajo Nation said, hey, why don't you go on radio? And so we went on radio, and that was very, very successful. And so we're very pleased with the amount of participation we've had. Obviously, you referenced it. We've been, I won't say overwhelmed, but we've got a lot of comments. People are really invested in this. They're passionate about it. We get that. And we're going to look hard at it. But we also recognize that there are allottees there. They have a property right. They have an interest in developing their resources. And so I'm not going to speculate with regard to the future of the oil and gas industry, what's going to work and what people are interested in. Our job is to make resources available and to allow people to make use of those opportunities consistent with protecting the resources that we're obligated by Congress to protect.
So down in the Permian Basin, the BLM's recent lease sale, definitely the bids were significantly lower than they were before COVID. And we're seeing up in the San Juan Basin, a lot of the larger oil and gas companies have moved out of that basin. I think right now there's about 33,000 wells in the San Juan Basin in New Mexico, and only about 20,000 of those are active. Global forecasters are saying that the oil and gas industry is not going to be rebounding from this current downturn, that the world has changed for various reasons. And the BLM is certainly a multi-use agency, land agency, but certainly here in New Mexico, oil and gas is a really important part of the BLM. I'm curious how you see the agency changing over time as the demand for oil and gas decreases.
I don't know. You have a better crystal ball than I do, Laura, because I don't know what the future holds. I remember there's a bumper sticker years ago in Denver that said, "Oh Lord, let there be another oil and gas boom. I promise not to screw this one up." So we understand it's cyclical. Obviously, a few months ago during the virus, the value of oil was negative. You couldn't give it away. As a friend of mine said, every bathtub in Louisiana was filled up with oil. There was nowhere else to put it. No one was buying. It's rebounded. I don't know where the prices are going to go. I'm a lawyer. I do know that Congress has asked us to increase wind energy and solar energy and geothermal energy, and we've done that. Last December, I went to where I went to law school, went out to Medicine Bow, Wyoming, and toured the area that's going to be a real huge development for wind power, and a perfect place for wind power because the wind never stops up there. And so Oregon and Washington, California said, send us wind power, and we're at the BLM, we're going to send them wind power. We just created one of the biggest solar arrays down near Las Vegas. Green lighted it, the Gemini project in the history of the country, $1 billion project on BLM lands. And so we're looking for that. So the president's committed to an all of the above energy program, and we're getting that done at the Bureau of Land Management.
So you mentioned wildfires earlier. One of the most important issues that New Mexicans are facing and concerned about is climate change. And I'm curious how your agency is addressing climate change, both on the mitigation side of controlling greenhouse gases and looking ahead to minimize impacts, whether that's to water resources or ranch lands and certainly wildfire season.
80% of fires are caused by humans. 80% of fires are caused by humans. We're burning up about 7 million acres today in this country, a lot of it in California and Oregon. And again, 80% of those are caused by human beings. Congress tells us what to do. Congress writes the laws. And as Secretary Bernhardt has said often, I've got a lot of laws. I've got 30, 40, 50 laws sitting on my desk that say, Mr. Secretary, you shall. The Secretary shall. I don't have any that says the Secretary shall solve climate change. So we respond to what the Congress tells us to do. Now, that being the fact that we understand that we have fuels out on the countryside. We're seeing that in California, and practically everybody's talking about it. If we cleared a lot of this out, there wouldn't be things to burn. And the Bureau of Land Management, we were tasked by the president last fiscal year. He said, clear out 600,000 acres of hazardous fuels that will burn during the next fire. And so we did better than that. We cleared out 846,000 acres of hazardous fuels. And so that's what we're trying to do. You know, Laura, we spend like this on fire and we spend like this by reducing hazardous fuels. And we believe the numbers ought to be like that. So that's what we're trying to do with regard to fire.
Okay. Deputy Director, thank you so much for joining New Mexico in Focus. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to be with you.